Yes, guys, welcome back to the channel. And today we are diving into the biggest transfer saga of the summer. Alexander Isak and Newcastle at loggerheads. We don't know who is telling the truth. We don't know what story is true. We don't know what ex-player is telling the truth or knows what he knows is the truth. Where is the truth? And that's the problem with these sagas, is that no one actually comes out ever and goes, listen, this is the nuts and bolts of it. And this is exactly what's happening. Now, I understand why that is, because the club's protecting their side of things and the players protecting their side. And this is a who blinks first type of scenario. But it looks like obviously a player trying to force a move and a club trying to get absolute value for money. So I want to get into this. I want to break this down from every angle because there's a lot of nuances here. First, let's talk about the agent. We all see the players' frustrations, but let's not forget what the agent did, what he achieved. They secured a 6-year contract for the player, which at the time was probably 3-4 times, maybe more than his actual salary, I would argue. They secured his family and their financial future, which is great. So the agent did his job to get him a huge, life-changing deal. But where did it all go wrong? That's the big question. The £110 million question, if that's the number that we're looking at and talking about. The core issue, it seems to me, is the asking price. That's where I think that both camps aren't meeting in the middle. I understand that the player's feelings that he was promised a move, but a promise, for me, unless it is down on a bit of paper, means absolutely nothing in this game of football. And we can talk about, there's a lot of words that get bandied about loyalty, honesty, a gentleman's agreement and all this type of stuff. It means nothing in this game. That's why when people start talking about it, and fans do this a lot, where's the loyalty in the game? We've had it with players. It doesn't exist, and it doesn't exist from both sides. And that's the one mistake that I think that Isak and his camp, his agent, have maybe kind of got wrong. They've placed trust in words rather than trust in paperwork. And that's been a big problem, because if they've got this down on paperwork, that guarantee, that promise in paperwork, there's no grey areas. It's black and white. That's the promise. We signed it. You signed it. The number's been met. I'm going. And we know that Newcastle have a huge asking price, and rightly so. He's their asset, and they're going to price him accordingly to what they feel is the value that they're demanding. But we know Liverpool have bid £110 million, and I think the question is he worth more than that? Do Newcastle value him more than that? And if they're valuing more than that, how much more? And is it an outrageous ask? Because that's where then I feel the player gets to go, hold on a minute, you're pricing me out of the market unrealistically. And so I have a problem. And that's the detail that we need to get from Isak and his camp, I think. I mean, when you look at the other transfers of the summer, you have to ask, is Newcastle's price of, for argument's sake, 140 million or 150 million pound, is that realistic? Is Isak 30 to 40 million pounds more expensive than a Wirtz? Would you say that? If we're to say yes, he is, then I don't think Liverpool will go and meet that asking price, and Isak has to accept that. But I think what Isak and his camp needed to do, they needed to know what the asking price was, and were Liverpool comfortable meeting that asking price. And that's the problem. I think there's been a gentleman's agreement, a promise made at this price that will unlock you ready to go to that club who's asking for you. That price has been met, but the person that has given the promise has left the football club, I think. And the new regime and new people in them seats are saying, well, the promise wasn't with us. It was with that individual, not the club. There's no paperwork to say that it's the club backing that. That person promised, they're no longer here, promised is void. And Isak is saying, whoa, 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 I'm not happy about that. Now, I think where the club, I think, maybe should have done better is this conversation should have been had as soon as that person left. Now, the nuances I'm talking about is, did the person that made the promise who left the football club tell the people coming in, I've got a promise, by the way, with one of our best players, if not the best player, just you want to take that up and you want to maybe start talking about that now, maybe in January or whenever it was. So you don't have this problem in the transfer window in the summer where there's little time, pressure's on, and you're doing it in the public now, and they're airing the dirty laundry. I think that's been a big mistake. And I think you've got to look at things like these player power moments and verbal agreements. The player refusing to play, refusing to train. This is a last resort situation. I've been there, I've got to be honest with you, and I get it. I was at Leeds. Manchester United come in with a world record bid for me. I think it was a world record, £30 million. I think it was a world record for a defender, maybe. But astronomical amount of money. Now, the difference is that, again, the nuance with this was that I knew that Leeds needed to sell me for financial reasons. But they were angling out for a bit more money. And I was saying, no, I want to go. I need to go now. I want to go and get involved with pre-season and train. I was willing to go to the Peter Ridsdale's office, the CEO at the time, and sit there and wait as long as it takes for him to agree for me to go. You're not going to hold me here just because you want a few more million. You're getting a huge amount of money, and you're not going to price me out of the market. And plus, I know you need to sell me. I want to go and win trophies. And Manchester United wanted me, the best manager in the land, in the world at the time, in my mind, wanted me, and I wanted to go and play there. So I was willing to do that, and mine didn't actually go public in that stance, but I was very, very committed in my mind that if I had to go public with this, I would have gone with it. Now, not every player is going to do that. Not every player has the personality, the character, or the balls to do that. I was willing to do that because I had my heart set on going to Man United when they came in for me. And I knew that the fans wouldn't like it. And listen, there's a section of Leeds fans that will never accept that, and will never ever like me, and will never ever appreciate the way that I left the club. But I think that more of them wouldn't. But I think if you're sensible, you'd understand that, one, I was doing the club a favour in many ways, in that I was getting a lot of money in for them because they were in dire straits. Two, sometimes a player's needs are important as well in this, and if he's going to be more committed elsewhere, then you've got to accept that. And I wanted to win trophies, and time has told that I won trophies when I went to Manchester United, so it was the right thing to do for me personally. So you've got to take all of these things into consideration when as a player. But I think Isak, he needs to be more transparent, more open, and more, I think, brutal if he wants to get out of that football club. That would be my advice to him if I was as an ex-player who's been in a similar situation. But it brings up a huge question. We saw this with Goika's situation where there was a verbal agreement that weren't in the contract, and it made it very, very sticky. Should a player ever operate under a gentleman's agreement? No, they shouldn't. Never ever do that. There's no gentleman's agreement. That person could lose their job, leave the club. Then it's that agreement's with that person, not the club. Get it in writing. That's my advice to any player now playing the game. But what I would say, if I was in the position that Isak's in, I would be coming out now and saying exactly what happened. I saw his statement, still quite a vague statement that gets nobody else on side, that creates no sympathy for himself as a player because he's not given enough detail. He should be saying exactly what's happened. This person promised me that I could leave the club if this number was met. And it's been met. I should be able to leave the club. And I think he needs to tell the fans exactly that, because if that price is still quite a realistic price in today's market, then I think people will understand how disgruntled he is. Now, if it's an unrealistic asking price now that they've moved the goalpost to, he might get a little bit of sympathy from the fans. But if not, he's just going to be continually hurting his own image, I think. And at the same time, I don't think it's right that his image gets hurt, but I do think that he needs to come out and say everything, because if he doesn't do that, then he's never. All the fans are going to say, "Yeah, but you paid this, you paid that." You signed the contract, and I understand that, but it's not always as black and white as that. And I've seen a lot of people talking about this situation, and they're trying to make it as black and white as they can. And well, if you've got a contract, you play to your contract, but there's a lot of things that go on that are layered in these situations. Yeah, the missus just walked in, it's fine, don't worry about it, guys. It's what happens at home. So what's the bottom line? I'm being asked to go for dinner. I'm telling you, she's cooked dinner. So I'm being asked to go to get a bit of food. The bottom line is if Liverpool are asked to pay a realistic asking price, then I think the transfer should go ahead. But if they're not, then I think Newcastle have every right to hold on to the player. But I want to know what you think, guys. I want to know if you think the player should stay. Is this like right to refuse to train if he's been promised something? And should he reveal the asking price that Newcastle agreed on? Let us know in the comments, guys. Let us know your thoughts on the thing. Let us know the temperature, where you think it is. Should he stay? Should he go? What are you Newcastle fans thinking? Because I understand their plight, what they're thinking, their rage. One of our players doesn't want to play for the badge, has said he's not going to play because he's not getting a transfer to a different team. They're not going to be happy. But is there any understanding in that fan base at all for the player and what his desires are and what he wants and what he needs? Because you have to remember, Newcastle, you're going to get a hefty profit as well. Our Newcastle is their stance. We will not be bullied. We will not be bullied in the transfer market. We're going to lay a marker down right now. Our best player isn't getting taken out by nobody when it doesn't suit our requirements or our demands. These are the questions I want you to answer in the comments, guys. Thank you and see you soon.